This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswald.
Lee Feinswald, look at the kiss. Wow.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Bert. Remember, it all starts at Bert. Now, your host, Lee Feinswald.
Well, good evening. Tonight on Sports 225, we get to talk a little hoops. Johnny Jones, the LSU basketball coach, will be with me later on in the show. And we'll also have prep football with Cade Wassan and Hunt Palmer. But first up in this segment, last Friday was the annual Bert Jones Golf Classic. It's 26th year, and in that time, that tournament has raised $1.7 million to help research to fight cystic fibrosis. The Hollingsworth Auto Group is a big part of that, and other sponsors. And we were thrilled to go out on a beautiful day, visit with Bert, who is a former LSU quarterback, not just a quarterback legend, former NFL great, but who has lent himself to this tournament, a cause that he really believes in. It was just a gorgeous day. We talked about a variety of things, not the least of which is raising money to fight cystic fibrosis. It's a picture-perfect day, hanging out with Bert Jones and his golf classic. And let me ask you about that. How did you get involved in this charity and with the Hollingsworths?
Well, this is benefiting cystic fibrosis, and I am a gene carrier for cystic fibrosis. My younger brother Tom has 3 children with CF, and I became involved with the CF Foundation about 27 years ago when Caleb was born and diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. Jim Crane, now a good friend at the time, I didn't know Jim, he said, "Bert, I'd like to see if you could help us raise money for cystic fibrosis in the Baton Rouge area." I said, "It'd be my pleasure." And here we are 26 years later, and things are good.
It's an annual tournament, raises money. People have a lot of fun.
It is an annual tournament. We raise a lot of money. We've got wonderful sponsors. The Hollingsworth Richards Motor Group has just been special for us. They've been with us 19 years. Enterprise Rent-A-Car, State Farm. They've all done such a special job to help raise money. And the good thing about cystic fibrosis is we have made so much progress. I think when we started this tournament, the life expectancy was 10 or 12, maybe 13 years for a child with cystic fibrosis. Now, it's indefinite. We haven't found a cure. We're working on it. Jamie, Jim Crane's son's here. He has a double lung transplant. He's doing great, playing golf. Matter of fact, he's playing 36 holes. We made just great strides with cystic fibrosis, and it's through the money that we raise in events like this. Sometimes philanthropy, you wonder where the money goes. Well, you don't have to wonder about it in cystic fibrosis, because over 95 cents of every dollar that is contributed to CF goes directly into the lungs of a patient. So it's a good thing. We're working to find a cure. We're getting really close. We've made the quality of life for individuals living with cystic fibrosis much better, and I'm doing all that I can to find the cure.
And that's a good thing. I got to ask you, because not that you don't remember this, but
I've been hitting the head a lot. You know that, so I can forget.
Yeah, you played in an era. You played in an era before there was so much concern about concussions. But the point being is that it's been more than 4 decades since you played at LSU, and yet people.
Now, what are we talking about again?
Yeah, right, exactly. The effects of cystic fibrosis on NFL quarterbacks' heads. It's amazing how people are still gravitating towards you, and how it means a lot for people to meet you.
It's special to me. Of course, I had a wonderful career at LSU, had a great time. Baton Rouge is where I went to school. LSU is my school. There's no place like Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night. I can truly attest for that. I've played in essentially every major venue throughout the entire United States, or been to them, and there's nothing that rivals it even close. So it's a special place, and it's kind of nice. Mainly history majors now, they're the only ones that remember me, but I'm appreciative of those history majors, and had a great time and would love to do it again.
That at one point in your post-football days, and I should point out, Bert lives in Ruston and is a huge outdoorsman, that you were involved with wildlife and fisheries in a high capacity.
And I still serve on the Wildlife and Fisheries Foundation board at the present time, which we are 501c, where we raise money and we bring money in to help primarily the habitat for the state of Louisiana and different aspects of wildlife and fishery that needs funding, and there isn't just enough money. We know all everybody knows the funds in our state coffers are seriously down, but this is what I do. But yeah, and actually I've even taken Jeff fishing. He even caught a fish.
That's hard to believe.
It is really, truly hard to believe.
You know, people ask me sometimes before we do an interview, what are we going to talk about, or before the show, and truly, I never think about it and I never rehearse it. And if this interview isn't a perfect example of that, I don't know what is. All right. At the LSU football team, we're conducting this interview before that highly anticipated, much touted Furman matchup.
Have you ever been to Furman?
Yeah, I have.
Wonderful
been.
school,
the Paladins,
great school.
Yes, when LSU
and I've been to a Furman game before, just for your own information.
Well, when LSU and Furman, of course, play, you throw out the record books. But all that being said, assuming that when this interview airs, LSU will have won that game and be standing at 7-2 with Alabama on the horizon, just a quick synopsis of what you think might occur the rest of the football season for LSU.
I think we've got good talent. We're still developing. We've got a wonderful quarterback, and he is truly a very fine player. I can only think of how good he's going to be. In my view, he gets better every week. Now, he had a little slip up last week, but you know, it wasn't all him. He did some very good things too. So I think they're going to be good. You know, Alabama is loaded with talent, but LSU's got good talent, and I think it'll be a competitive game because, you know, we need to win that game. And then Texas A&M is going to be a lot of fun. It'll be a true test for our defense to be able to contain that kid. And then Arkansas, it doesn't matter how up or how down they are or we are.
On that one, they really do throw out the record books.
I mean,
that's
literally,
true. That's
they
do
throw out the
right.
record books, and it ought to be a lot of fun. And I hope to win my $1 from Joe Ferguson again.
Thank you for spending time with us.
My pleasure.
On behalf of all of us, everybody appreciates what you're doing.
I appreciate
not
you
only
coming
out
out
here today for this tournament, but overall.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. It was fun visiting with Bert Jones, and anytime you have a cause like that where they're raising money for any kind of charity, but especially cystic fibrosis, and what they do with that golf tournament and the support of the Hollingsworth Auto Group is awesome. I'm Lee Feinswag. You're watching Sports 225. When we get back, prep football with Hunt and Cade, and then later on in the show, Johnny Jones, the LSU basketball coach, joins me. We'll talk some hoops. I can't wait. You're watching Sports 225.